Okay, here I am back with part two of the week three activity. What you did in the first part of this activity was the shooting part where I asked you to shoot six different exposures of the same subject in the same composition in six different um, lighting scenarios. And if you'll recall, the first three of um, of each composition, you were bracketing the exposure value. So you should have one that is kind of medium, one that's a little dark, and one that's a little lighter. Okay, and then from those, you were to choose the one that you felt had the best exposure and use it to bracket white balance. So you should have one that's kind of neutral, one that is a little bit on the cool side, and one that's a little bit on the warm side. Okay. And so, what your objective after that is then to do is to bring these into Lightroom and using the Develop tab, make some adjustments primarily just to your exposure and your temperature settings to try to get these to match more or less. I don't expect this to be perfect, and I really don't expect you to spend a whole lot of time on it either. This is really just an exercise for getting you familiar with um, editing in general and Lightroom in general. Okay, so what I just want to point out to you right now before I go into the Develop tab, I'm in the Library tab, and if you can't see these tabs up here, it's probably because this little thing is closed. If your little arrow is dotted and pointing down like that, your tabs only show up if you hover right over it. And if you need to be able to see them all the time, and sometimes I kind of feel like I need to see them all the time, I just leave mine showing. Okay, but um, when you upload these, when you make screenshots of these and upload these into um, Blackboard, basically what I'm asking you to do is give me two things. One is a screenshot of all six of these after they've been edited. These have not been edited yet. And then one will be just a shot of one of them in the Develop module, in the Develop tab, showing your settings over here. And go ahead and use the one that was the most difficult for you for that one. Okay, I'm just going to go back to Library real quick. I had asked you that you make your that you make a screenshot in thumbnail view so that I can see all six, no more, no less than six of your exposures for each of the six given um, lighting scenarios. Okay, so if your thumbnail view, or if your view does not look like this in the Library tab, if you only see one, it's probably because you're on Loupe view, Loupe, and you need to be on the thumbnail view. If you see fewer or greater number of thumbnails, it's because you need to adjust the size of the thumbnails here. This is a very, very versatile program. But I found it took me just a little while to get comfortable, moving around inside this program. A lot of the reason being that it can just look so different from one type of screen to the next. You've just got so many options in how you can choose to look at things. Let's see here. I'm just going to click on the. Isn't that cool? See, this is one of the things I really like about it is the metadata. Here's just like another way to see your metadata. I'm going to make that go away. But so anyway, I'm getting a little ahead of myself here because the first thing I wanted to show you was what I want you to do when you're editing these. And there's all sorts of cool things that you can do when you're now notice I'm in the develop tab. Okay, there's all sorts of cool things you can do. And for now, all I'm asking is that you work with a couple of the settings in the basic palette, particularly exposure and temperature. And I really, these do not need to be perfect. I really don't want you to spend a whole lot of time on this. I would much rather you just kind of get the basic idea, and then let's move on to the next exercise, and let's save being all perfect and everything for when we actually do one of our more creative projects. So I can see my thumbnails down here. I can always go back to library view and see all 6 of them side by side if I want. But basically what I would want to do for this one, it's a little dark, so I want to bring my exposure up some. Now, I've actually already gone in and adjusted the exposure a little bit for demonstration purposes. You can slide this little slider bar if you want. That's one way to do it. One thing I like to do is I like to just double click on the number there and use my up-down arrow. Okay, so I'm actually going to go ahead and just take this back to where it was. But if you look over here, you can see what my temperature is. You can see, if I'm bumping the exposure up or down a little bit. Histogram is up there. Okay, and then I've got pretty much about the same exposure between this one and this one. I think this one's a little bit lighter still. I may just click on the exposure and nudge it down just a bit. I really like using the up and down arrow for this because I don't feel like I have a whole lot of control when I actually grab the little slider bar there. Okay, this is the one that should be slightly overexposed. You can see how much lighter that is. And so I'm going to bring that down. And again, I did kind of edit these some in advance so that I'd have kind of an example to use. So these probably are going to look a little different over here on the side from yours. Okay, and then the second 3, you did the same thing, but this time you were playing around with the white balance, and I asked you to have one exposure that was kind of in the middle, one that was a little on the cooler side, and one that was a little on the warmer side, like this one. Going a little, there we go. Okay, so same thing. If this one's a little warm, what you can see on the temperature scale here is, we've got blue at one end and yellow at the other, of course, blue being cooler. So if this is a little too yellowy, then I want to take, if this is a little too yellowy, I want to move that slider bar towards the blue a little bit. Okay. And remembering that about 5,500 is the number that they gave for your degrees Kelvin that was pretty close to being perfectly neutral as the human eye sees it. So if you're in the 5,000s range here, you're pretty close. Okay, I'm just going to leave that one alone. This is the one that should probably be a little on the cool side. If you look, I had changed the temperature. I had taken it down a little bit, so I had taken it to 5350, and I'm just gonna, not the temperature. Sorry, I'm on the wrong one, you guys. There we go. We'll get to temp later. Okay, so I just kind of nudged that up a little bit. These do not have to be perfect, but that's really all I'm asking you to do for this particular exercise, is just to go into develop and really just focus on temperature and exposure. They are probably not going to all be perfectly exactly alike, and I'm okay with that. I don't want you to, beat this one up, okay? Because we've got We've got other things we need to worry about before we start getting into being really, really fussy about our images. So I'd like to just move through this kind of quickly and just, just basically this is just giving you a little introduction to Lightroom, nothing more. Okay, well, after you've finished all of your edits, let's say I got these edited and they look a little bit more alike than they do. You can see that my ones up here are a little darker than these down here. So we're just going to pretend like I, did that the way I want. I'm going to have you do two things. One, I'm going to have you take a screenshot of your screen in the library tab with all 6 images showing after you've edited them. So, ideally you'll pull them up and they'll all 6 look a lot closer to one another than mine do right now. If you don't know how to make a screenshot, it's very, very easy. I can tell you exactly how to do it in a Mac. PC, if you don't know how to do a screenshot, you're going to need to look that up. But it's really, really easy. It's just basically you're just capturing a photograph of exactly what's on your screen. In Mac, it's Command-Shift-4. And if you hit Command-Shift-4, you can see that I got like a little crosshair here, okay? And basically it's not going to do anything until I position it where I want it, and then I click and drag. So I've positioned it in the upper left-hand corner. I'm going to click and I'm going to drag. I want to get this whole frame in here basically. So I'm going to click and drag all the way over like this. And I don't know how it's going to work on your computer, just depending on what it has. If you're using a Mac, you hear a little camera click kind of sound. Now my screenshots are set up to save to my desktop. Let me, oh, here's one of them right here. Let's see, but that's the one I did earlier. Let me close that out. Okay, so here's my desktop. And I'm just going to open that up in preview so you can see it. There's the screenshot. This is what I'm actually going to, open up and load into the little table template that I gave you for part 2. And I'll show you that in just a moment. Now, the other screenshot I need you to do is go back into Develop, and I want you to choose one of the 6. Which one of these was the hardest. That's kind of what I'm wanting to know is which one of these did you have the most the most trouble with? And what I'd like you to do is get a screenshot of just that one. Okay, make sure you've got this little thing here. But this is kind of cool too. It helps you kind of see before and after adjustments, which is kind of neat. But just have it like this, okay? And I want to make sure that you get the contents of your basic palette over here in the screenshot. So once again, if you're on a Mac, it's Command-Shift-4. And just come up here to the upper left-hand corner, click and drag, and there we go. Okay, and so again, you can see that screenshot is there on my desktop. Yours, by default, it may save to your Documents folder. I think that's where mine went before I changed my settings a little bit. I like to just have them go to my desktop so I don't have to go hunting around for them. Okay, so anyway, let me get back into Blackboard now. Let's see, I'm just going to minimize all this stuff. Here's Blackboard. Okay. No, that's not Blackboard. Close that out. Too many windows open. Here we go. Okay. So once again, I'm going to have you, just like you did for part 1, where you copied and pasted that entire table. Same thing for part 2. Okay. Here's the table that you're gonna copy. And so what I want you to do is the same thing. You're gonna replace each of these pictures with your own picture, and you're gonna replace the text here with your own text. So let me copy this. There's 12 panels here. So you're gonna have 2 for each, type of light. Let's just copy that, or Command-C. And you can add on to it, you know, like say you posted a blog entry. Let me turn my edit off so mine looks just like yours. Say you posted a blog entry earlier and then you came back and wanted to do the second part of this assignment later. You can actually go in and edit your original blog and add on to it. So let's see here. There it is. So here's my sample post. All I have to do is click the little down arrow and tell it edit. And let me expand that screen a little bit. I'm going to scroll down past it. At this point, all of these should be filled in, you know, with your own pictures and your own notes down here, right? Okay, and then I can just kind of get below that, just kind of click somewhere to the right of that first table and just hit your return key a couple times and then Command V. And so here what we've got is I've got 12 blocks in this table, 2 for each type of light. Let's just go to the one I was doing with the paper towel the other day was my outdoor cloudy. So what I'm going to do is one is going to be a screenshot of the 6 thumbnails, and then one's going to be a screenshot of the one that I was editing. Okay, so just like I did before, I'm going to delete the little holder picture there. I'm going to get my picture icon here, and I want to browse my computer for, go to my desktop, browse my computer for the screenshot. If I can't see what I'm doing, I'm going to look at these like thumbnails. I think, yeah, this is the one I'm looking for. So I'm going to choose that. And again, it's probably going to be a lot bigger than that 200 pixels that I'm asking for. So just kind of give it a chance to load up. Go to appearance. Yeah, here it is. Okay, go back to appearance. And yeah, see, it's pretty big. I want to change that to 200 pixels wide on my longest side, just like I did before. Insert. Okay. And of course, what I'm asking you to do is, you know, just delete this text here and give me a couple of sentences. And in a couple of sentences, just, you know, tell me about this process. You know, was it, were there anything of note that that you encountered while you were doing your editing? You know, was it challenging? Was it easy? You know, if so, why? Okay, so here's my screenshot with all 6 exposures. Then I'm going to show you the one screenshot that say I had the most trouble with. Maybe that was the one that I had underexposed a little bit. I'm not sure which one that was, but okay, here it is. Running a little slow today. I don't know if it's my computer or Blackboard or both. Let's go into appearance. Just wait for these figures to load up. Tell it insert and just tell it okay. Okay, and then, you know, same thing. So I've got the screenshot with in the develop panel, and I'm going to have make sure my basic palette shows over here so that I can see what your settings are, you know, for exposure and temperature. And then, of course, same thing. Replace this text with your own words. Okay, so I'm going to do that for all 6 of the different types of light. Click post entry here, And it's good to know you can go back and edit these. So, you know, if you want to do a little bit one day and then come back and do a little bit more the next day, you know, by all means do that. Okay, so let me kind of slip on over to my sample post here. I'm not sure why it's loading weird like that. Like it's not showing the whole thing. It shows up eventually. It's just trying to load. I don't know. Yeah, you have to give it a minute to load. You can't be impatient. I think, like I said earlier, you know, if you sit here and you fuss with it like I tend to do while you're waiting for it to load, you're just going to get frustrated. It's really better to just walk away for a few minutes and come back. And I probably need to take my own advice on that one, but yeah. So here, so anyway, let me kind of scroll down. Here it is. Okay, so here's for part 2. I'll go ahead and have both my outdoor cloudy, and I'll go ahead and do the same thing here for, you know, the ones that I edited in part 1, the indoor with the flash. So you can kind of see them both. The rest of them, I think you guys are smart enough to fill them in yourself. I don't think I need to do all 6 of these for you. Okay, so hopefully that made it a little bit more clear. Just let me know. Give me some feedback on this, because I really think that this is important. I have no way of knowing if I'm, you know, just like really demanding too much of you this week or not. You know, I just want to emphasize, the faster we get through all these exercises, the faster we can get onto the cool stuff. And I'm hoping that these videos help help it to make sense. And please give me your feedback, because you know I'm trying to figure this out as I go along too. And if something that I'm trying, if it's not working for you, or you think that there's a way that it could be more clear, I'm open to all input. Okay, in fact, it would help me greatly if you guys would, you know, just continue to give me feedback on this, and that way, you know, I can make things easier for you for the rest of the semester, and you know, just kind of keep shaping the course according to you know, what kind of feedback I get from you guys. Okay, so that should keep you busy until I get week 4 finished. So here we are. I'm just barely finishing week 3, and we're already supposed to be starting week 4. But you guys have plenty to keep you busy, so I'm not worried about it. Just have fun, and let me know if you need any help.